So we're talking Generation Alpha, which is, our next generation that's coming through, our babies that are being born now. How does it differ to different generations that we've had in the past?
Well, I think today they're born with iPhones, robotics, artificial intelligence, electronics. They're possibly born with devices so close to them that they can't imagine themselves being without that, where previous generations, that's not real. So I think that they're technologically expanded in their impact, their outreach, their awareness, that give them advantages, but also distractions if they're not used wisely. But we're definitely in an era of technology that allows us to think globalization instead of localization, and soon solarization, even more than globalization. So this next generation will be the people that will finally get to the next planet and get onto, habitats in space, these kind of things. So yeah, they're being born with a vaster vision than we would have probably perceived in the generations prior. Progressively, obviously, but definitely they're going to be assuming things that we once imagined, but they're going to assume.
It's a bit scary, isn't it?
Well, it's probably every generation probably perceives that about the next generation. When they had the horse and buggy, when they got the car, that was shocking. There's a video that you can go online about Mrs. Mercedes, and you can actually see what the people were freaking out seeing a little car go by. So I'm sure that that's probably a similar, but probably a more accentuated distinction generation by generation. It's getting faster, so it's more of a distinction. So it's more to adapt to for the parents and more to take in for the youth. Definitely.
Which leads me to my next question. What challenges do you think parents of Generation Alpha children are going to have?
Well, one is going to be a common challenge that every generation, I think, our parental generation has on the offspring. Because we grow up in a paradigm, a worldview, and we tend to think that's the way it is, we tend to not consciously impose that and project that assumption onto the next generation. And we have to grow from them. So I really think it's wise to always, as a parent, to realize that we're not here to teach them any more than they're to teach us. Level the playing field with equity instead of autocracy. And you'll go a lot farther in the relationship and in the teaching process. The greatest thing we can do, as Einstein said, as a teacher, as a parent, is exemplify the adaptability and resiliency to transcend the distresses that we're facing. The greatest teacher is exemplification. So if we are resistant to the new things of the next generation, we create conflict only because we're not willing to adapt. When we hold on into infatuation the way it was and resentments to the change, we fear the loss of the way it was and we fear the gain of the way it is, and we are non-resilient and adaptable to change. And then we confuse the child because they're surrounded by the same age group that is automatically moving forward and adapting them. If we don't, we're creating an internal conflict unnecessarily. So we have to learn from them in the next generation as much as we're teaching them, and not assume that they don't have their own values, they don't have their own objectives. We're supposed to give it to them, but to exchange our knowledge and their knowledge and both grow together. I think that's wiser. Whenever we talk down to somebody, they don't tend to listen. Whenever we talk up to somebody, we'll sacrifice and we'll be the ones not listening. But if we have equity and we realize that they are individuals with values and contributions that are unique, and learn from them and respect them like a customer. If you talk down to a customer, you don't make sales. And we're selling ideas to our children. And we have to care enough about them and respect their uniqueness and their value path to articulate what we think is important for them, to expand them. At the same time, do it in a way that you respect them and articulate in their values. I've been blessed to teach children in schools of all different levels. And when you autocratically project down on to kids, they become defiant disorders, attention deficit disorders, and labels, and end up on medication. But if you actually go in there and care enough about them to find out what they're committed to, what's highest on their values, and what they feel is deeply meaningful and important in their life, and then articulate, see the value of that in your own life, and then articulate what you feel will be helpful to them in the next generation, and communicate it in a way where they feel they're getting their values met. They're receptive and open, and they work as a family instead of work as a second generation that you have to teach. So I really think having leveling the playing field does make a difference. That doesn't mean not be the authority, because you have some wisdom they don't, but they also have knowledge that they're going to reveal to you, and it's wise to not minimize that and honor that, respect that, and communicate effectively in their values.
It is really easy as a parent to do that, where we do accidentally have that relationship where it is, I'm the parent, you will do what I say. What's your tips and advice to parents when they get into that sort of mode? Because obviously it's really easy because that's the way we were parented.
One of the greatest questions that I found that builds respect and dialogue instead of alternating monologues where they're talking, you're not listening, you're talking, they're not listening, is to ask, what am I observing objectively about their life that shows that's important in their life? Even a baby in a crib, if you throw something in the crib to play with, if it's really valuable to the child, it will put it in its mouth, it'll explore it, it'll hold it close to itself, it will want to learn about it. So if we look at what the child fills the child's space with, look at what it wants to spend time on, learn what it wants to, what energizes it, what it wants. If you go and spend money, what does it want to buy? If we look at what's really important to the child, where they bring order, where they're disciplined, what they like studying and learning about, exploring, what they're inspired to engage in, if we pay close attention to that and honor that, genius is awakened in children. It's really quite amazing when they're honored for what they're pursuing and not suppressed. And then articulate what was important in terms of what that is, and finding out and asking a question, what is my child really inspired by? And how is it teaching me, and how is it helping me? Because if you can see how what they're doing is helping you, you'll talk with respect. But if not, you'll talk down. And when you do, you suppress them. And then you're actually undermining their confidence and their exploration of the universe. And that holds them back instead of it catalyzes them to want to tackle things. Children love learning, and they love learning what inspires them. And whenever they're able to pursue that, they spontaneously want to go and explore and tackle challenges and develop the areas of the brain that are creative and innovative and confidence building and expand them. So you don't want to suppress it. You want to honor it by finding out how what they're dedicated to is actually helping you as a parent. My son loves video games, as a lot of people do. And when I grew up, I didn't do video games. I had nothing to do with video games. It couldn't even relate to video games. He's got 25,000 followers now. He's building a business around it. He's commercializing it. That's his career path. I wouldn't even imagine that at one time, but that's his career path. My daughter loved couture and fashion. She's in fashion designing and also a singer. The other daughter teaches like I do. So we relate to it a lot easier because we have similar values, but none of them are wrong. So we have to be aware and adaptable enough to not make our children's values wrong. They're going to change. They're going to evolve over the decades. And so you don't want to make them wrong. You want to honor their exploration of the universe and then keep aligning things to what they value in terms of what you value so you can expand them without suppressing them. Amazing things emerge when you do that. I watched Marilyn Wilhelm, who had a school in Houston that started with 2-year-olds, and she communicated and found out what they excelled. And she found that one loved cars, and one loved sports, and one loved dancing, and one loved music, and one loved astronomy. And she got all of them teaching the class and have them all engage in teaching the class in their fields and cross-reference chronologically information. And these kids, by the time they were 13, were already getting on to college 13. They were on their way to college. And they were way more advanced than the other kids because she never suppressed them. She honored their uniqueness. And everybody has a unique set of priorities and values, even from a young age. And caring enough to communicate in those values like a customer allows them to buy your ideas respectfully. It's really quite amazing watching and taking the time to master that skill. So how specifically is what they're dedicated to, helping you as a parent fulfill what you're dedicated to, and then ask how is what you're dedicated to help them. The more you answer that question, the more information you'll have to have wise dialogues with your children, and you'll engage them instead of suppress them.
Beautiful piece of advice. So what shift do you think, besides that one, that parents need to make to raise this generation? Because, you know, it does differ to how we were raised as children, as we were just saying. So that suppression obviously is the big thing. So how can we stop doing that suppression? How do we, you know, move it and have those conversations where we aren't suppressing our children?
When I was not engaging in video games, we had more challenge, my son and I. So I realized that I decided to go to a Pokemon movie when he was young. And I started to see principles that were very advanced principles sitting in the movie that I never would have imagined. And I started investigating it. And when I started to look into his world, the more I looked into his world and the more I engulfed that world, the more we were dialoguing. And I realized, the next generation's moving things advanced in technologically and moving things as far as information. And we can't expect to live in the past. But the moment I started opening up to his world, he opened up to mine. I found it a direct reflection. And so, as Einstein said, the greatest teacher is exemplification. If you exemplify the willingness to continue to adapt and keep up yourself, you will not only have your children relate to you more, and you'll exemplify how to live. If you live by highest priorities, I found it that I've been living since my 20s. If you fill your day with high priority actions that are deeply meaningful, most inspiring, most productive, most important in your life, and live by priority, you train your children indirectly for them to do the same. And whenever we live by priority, our self-worth goes up. And we learn to not live by duty, subordinating to conformity of the peers about us, but to have the courage to be unique, because every human being wants to make a difference, and children want to make a difference. I've talked to 5-year-olds, and they want to make a difference. They want to contribute to the planet. So forcing them to fit in, instead of honoring their ability to be an unborrowed visionary, lifting themselves outward, makes it difficult as a parent and makes it suppressive to the child. So exemplifying the adaptability that we're expecting them to have. Don't expect them to have something you're not willing to have. It's not fair for them. But go and honor by keeping current with it and keeping by priority in your life, and live and exemplify a more inspired life, and you'll wake up inspiration in those children. You'll do it. I've stuck to my inspirations. All my kids, now that they're grown up, they all came back and utilized the exemplification and watching, because they have mirror neurons, and they're like chameleons, and they'll watch what you do, not what you just say. It's not what we say, it's what we do. And so the greatest thing we can do is live by priority and live an inspired and fulfilling life, and not let the external world run our life, but let our own dreams direct us. And that gives them permission to go and be inner directed and not just suppressed. Living by design, not duty. There's a big difference, because otherwise our whole schooling system many times is made for drones. It's made for people to just be average people working for other people. But the question is that how you want your child to end up? Or do you want your child to wake up their capacities and do something more extraordinary that inspire you, watching them? When I see my daughter just create a new song, we're working on an album, and watching her perform it, I'm inspired. And she gave herself permission to stand up at age 3 in front of a large audience and sing. And I know that that's because she was been trained to gain the confidence in herself and not, no, 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 no. Our whole system is based on right and wrong and black and white instead of creativity. So live an inspired, adaptable, prioritized life as a parent, and honor and respect them with equity. And you will watch the difference in your children. I've watched it, I've trained it, I've seen impact. It's very powerful.
I love that. What skills do you think as parents that we need to be thinking about? Because obviously, you know, I love that you, you know, started investigating the video games and things like that. But what skills do you believe we need to teach our children? Because, you know, we are all worried. I know I am as a parent that, you know, they're just going to play video games, they're just going to be in their room, not going to have any people skills. So what other skills are they going to need to have this generation that, you know, us parents need to be making sure that we're instilling in them?
Beware of highly polarized, fundamental, black and white rigidities of thinking. And instead of labeling things, this is good and bad, and project your values onto them and expect them to live in your values, which is guaranteed to lead to defeat. Nobody can live in your values. They live in their own. Every decision they make is based on what they believe is going to give them the greatest advantage or disadvantage at that moment. So watch out for the highly polarized black and white thinking, because what that does is it boxes the children's creativity in. And teach the child this question. This question has been a gold mine. How did whatever you experienced today, regardless of what it was, how is it helping you fulfill what's deeply meaningful to you? Wow. How is it on the way, not in the way? How is the criticism by the guy down the street you labeled the bully, how is that helping you grow? How are you going to use that in your life? How is that, what would it make you think, and how can you use that to your advantage? If you ask questions, the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask. If you ask questions that lead to expansion and lead to the fulfillment of what's meaningful, you'll train them on how to take whatever happens and have amazing resiliency. We want to be victims of our history instead of masters of our destiny. And we don't do that by, you know, getting caught in a box about how it's supposed to be. We do it by honoring the way it is, because anytime depression is a comparison of your current reality to a fantasy about how it's supposed to be. The way it is the way it is. Now the question is how can you take this grounded reality of how it is and use it to your greatest advantage? Children in months old, they're already creative. 3 months old, 4 months old, they're already learning scientific things. They're already doing things. We used to think there was a blank slate in these children. Not so. We've already got inside the womb creativity going on, learning. They're already picking up languages. They're doing things. By the time they're 3 and 4 and 5 months and 6 months old, they're already doing scientific discoveries and exploring things. We want to honor that and encourage that. When I was 4 years old, I was fascinated by the moon. And I used to sneak out of the house, go push the little the screen out, go outside onto the patio, walk down the street, house down, just close enough to the light out on the street to be able to see, to draw, but just far enough away to be able to see the asterisms of the moon, the positioning of the moon. And I looked up an almanac to see what time I could go out at night to see the moon. And I drew the moon and all the asterisms day by day for the 28 days. Unless it was cloudy that day or rainy, I didn't do it. And my parents never stopped me. And it would be midnight. And they would sit in the living room and they would watch just to keep an eye on me. But they never stopped me. And my room got filled with pictures of the moon and all the stars. And they encouraged me to do it. So then they found, because I was interested in astronomy, and I saw Sputnik fly across the sky one night when I was 3, my dad pointed it out. They bought me a book on astronomy and I used to just look at it. I've written about 8 books on astronomy in my life. So they didn't suppress it. You need to be in your room, shut down. They watched what I was exploring and what I was fascinated by. And then they kept feeding that. And then as that changed, because it changes as you go through life, it tweaks. And they kept feeding that. I'm very grateful for that. I didn't grow up with the idea that No, that's not possible, or you can't do that. No, that's not wrong. Other people's opinions are what's more important, and live. Albert Einstein said that my contempt for authority is what made me one. And Ralph Waldo Emerson said, envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. Allowing that creativity inside the child to be allowed and honored is huge. Because the child then begins to believe, I can trust myself, I can believe in my own thinking. Maybe it's not, maybe it's air, doesn't matter. When you're doing quantum physics today, there are 1,000 theories at the very farthest frontiers of quantum physics. We don't know the answers to it, but the people that are creative are helping us move forward. And the children have that capacity from a young age. And we sometimes think, in the 1950s, we used to think they're blank slates and we got to train them on everything. That is completely antiquated. The reality is that they're born with amazing capacities, and our job is to wake up and recognize their genius. When Marianne Wilhelm was teaching her kids, she started with one premise, the Pygmalion effect. They are geniuses already. I'm now going to help uncover their genius and discover their genius. That's what she started from. Huge difference. Huge difference.
Absolutely. So I guess that's the thing, is that parents of this generation, if you could say one thing to them, what would it be?
Discover what inspires the child. Find out how it serves you. Ask them questions more than tell them how to be. Let them discover what they already know. As Plato says, all learning is recollection. You're recollecting what they already know many times. Their intuition's knowing things that we didn't even know they know. And give them perceptions. And if they ask questions, don't rescue them. Teach them how to go and look it up. Teach them how to go into the dictionary or Google, and let them go explore the universe. Give them accountability and responsibilities, but don't do it because of you should, you ought to, you're supposed to. Don't use imperatives, which are moral injunctions without explanations, but give them a deep understanding, and they will understand it. Don't underestimate their capacity to understand. They will understand if you give them a logical reason why they need to contribute to the chores, they need to clean their room. Do it in a way where it helps them, not because they'll be punished if they don't and rewarded if they do, but explain to them how it's going to help them get what they want in life, how it will help them get their dreams by mastering these skills. Do that and you'd be surprised what happens.
Perfect question, perfect answer to leave our show today. Thank you so much for your amazing insights. That was wonderful. Raising Generation Alpha, it's definitely a roller coaster for many of us parents. We're getting there.
Well, Alpha's the leaders. They're the leaders of the future.
I love that. So the next one was going to be ways to awaken your child's inner genius. We still got time? That was really great. I learned heaps, and you gave me a bit of a smash around, which I enjoyed, because I'm having the struggle right now. My boys have all of a sudden decided because they're 11 and 9, and they're just starting to want to play video games. All their friends are, and I've sort of held off. But yeah, it's such an interesting thing for parents, because we didn't grow up playing things like that, and you do have that negative bias, and because it's come from, obviously, you read so many things.
What I found, you know what I did with my son? Pardon me for this little side tangent, but
that's fine.
I asked my son, out of all the great video players, who are the ones that you are inspired by most? And he said, PewDiePie. I said, what's his educational background? What did he study? How does he manage his money? What's his relationship like? Because sometimes they'll get enamored with a piece and not look at the whole.
Yes.
And so it's wise to have them see the whole to make wiser decisions than just to see a piece that they get infatuated with, because that's usually an unwise decision that backfires on them. So I make them ask questions. And then I said, okay, so if you did this type of education, do you think studying comedy and studying this type of education might be helpful to help you go down that and create that outcome? So I didn't have to do anything. Once I showed him who he was looking up to was doing it, and I showed him, he immediately started going on Google and doing everything he could to learn about comedy and how to engage people and how to talk to people. And he was learning how to communicate effectively and everything. I didn't have to do anything. I just asked him, who are the leaders out there that you admire, and what are the skills that they have, and where do you have that, and what do you want to do? You either can be aware of it through your senses, or you can develop it with your motor functions. How would you do that? and he just took off with it. And now he's commercializing. He's creating products to be able to commercialize on it, because he's probably going to make, PewDiePie made $24 million in 1 year doing video games. 24 million.
It's incredible.
He's got 16 million people that follow him daily.
It's a whole new world.
That's more powerful than half the people in their life and their business. And he's influenced more people, been on more television shows and more. He's done amazing things, and he was a kid. So if you say you need to go down and get a job at the burger place or go and get a job in newspapers from 2 generations ago, he's going to look at you and go, I'm going to hire people to do that stuff. I got to do that. And anytime you suppress them with lower priority things, you make them devalue themselves, because you're devaluing them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the struggle. Like, we had a really big family discussion around it last night, because, you know, I still want them to have life skills. Life skills mean I have a conversation at a dinner table and not be engrossed in a phone and a device. And but it's just such a fine line, I think, because you do see a lot of these.
But look at us.
I know.
We're on Zoom. I'm not traveling. I've been in Thailand, Sri Lanka, Australia, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, India, London, South Africa. I've been to probably, in the last 3-4 months, I've been to every country on the earth on Zoom. Every country. Students around the world. We have students in every country. So I'm not traveling by ship or my flying or whatever, jet right now, but I'm traveling by Zoom. And thank God for that, because my business would be affected if I didn't have Zoom. Absolutely. My business has gone up. I've expanded my business more efficiently since Zoom. It's way more effective. I'm reaching more people, getting more costs to more people. We reached 250 million people in a 3-hour special, condensed and edited down to an hour, in 180 countries where Russian people are, by an interview. That's 250 million people we reached. Total of a 1-hour TV special out of 3 hours of filming to go live, to release that afterwards, after it's pre-recorded. But that's 180 million people. There's 250 million people in 180 countries. That's because of technology. So you don't want to suppress their insights on technology. It's not going to go backwards. It's going to go forward.
Absolutely. And
I need to keep up with them.
Yeah, but I think it's so interesting that many of us are going, why the heck was I doing all of this traveling and all this stuff? And, you know, it's so much easier being in my own home, and I can still, I'm actually having more impact now with what I'm doing. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and when he sees you on the internet, he's probably thinking, oh, my mom's not a dummy, you know, because they go, these last generations, they don't even know how to do a friggin' turn on a telephone, you know, cell phone, and they weren't born with it. So there's something to learn from them, I promise, because my kids are the ones teaching me and how to set these things up. They're the ones learning. I'm learning from them.
Yeah.
I learned how to draw and do graphics today for my daughter. And my son is doing things and showing how to do, opened up the videos on YouTube. So, I mean, my kids are teaching me. So it's not the other way around only.
No, but I guess for me personally, you get so much judgment from your own parents towards your grandchildren, like, you know what I mean? And they're judging you as a parent with all of this sort of stuff. So it's actually like, you're so torn, because you know that's the future and what they need to do. So you try, you know, it's such an interesting time, I think, for us as parents, because we get a lot of judgment from our own parents and they, you know, that generation on us about how we're parenting their grandchildren.
My son put me on Journey, which is a video game. And what you do is you have to go through a bunch of obstacles to get to the top of the mountain to learn the wisdom of the ages.
Oh, wow. I'm going to write that one down.
So I love the study of philosophy and you know, these kind of things. So you got to go through all these obstacles that are basically spatial and temporal obstacles that you have to coordinate sensory and motor functions in order to get to it. And so the kids figured out, I'm klutzing, and I'm doing this Journey show with my son, and all these young kids are coming on and said, what an idiot, he's so slow, he doesn't know what he's doing. But I learned something from that. I learned about coordination, I learned about it, and in every one of those obstacles, there was a metaphor for our life, a metaphor for our own judgments. Sometimes we don't think we can go this high, so it has a metaphor of trying to reach high and then falling. And then sometimes we're afraid to go over depths, heights, and it's confronting all of our fears in life in a game. And this gamification is teaching stuff that is about our life and we don't realize it. And so we haven't taken the time to explore what the games are really about. They're not all games that way. Some are just crazy, but the ones that are, there are a lot of games on there that are very, very powerfully constructed to engage children and also to educate about life.
And that's, I think, the difference is, you know, it is finding those games that it's not just Fortnite where, you know, I guess it is trying to find those ones where they are going to learn. It's making them learn amazing skills and not be so addictive that they can't get off it. Because I think that's the thing that you do worry. But, you know, I guess with your son earning a living out of it, them being addicted to it and treating it like a job and a profession.
He'll spend 6 to 8 hours on it, but what he's doing is he's got 25,000 people he's now talking to. So he's learning how to communicate, he's learning how to engage, he's learning how to listen, he's learning how to put products together that they want. He's learning how to find out what their newest needs are. They're also talking about their relationships, they're talking about their parents' pressure, they're talking about all kind of stuff on there. And he's learning from me on human behavior and he's sharing it with them and he's teaching them philosophy on his show. So he's got a philosophical quote that he outlines and he talks about every time he starts his YouTube video. So he's using it. He's reaching more people than I was at his age.
Incredible, isn't it? What's his YouTube channel?
Well, it doesn't go by his name. It's Dan Demogorgon. You probably won't find it, but it's okay. You probably be shocked by it because it's pretty teenage 20s kind of stuff, you know. But the point is, it doesn't matter because it is going to evolve with him.
Yeah.
If you look at even PewDiePie, what he was when he was 12 and what he was when he was 18 and what he was when he was 22, you can see the evolution of it. So it doesn't matter. It's a stage of, I just see it as a stage of life.
So do you think parents need to be, like, we need to be obviously open to it and, you know, understand that technology is not going anywhere and we've got to grow our children in there? Is there
don't make it black or white, wrong. Just say, let's use technology wisely.
Yeah.
Let's not negate technology. Let's use it wisely. It's to be used. It's to be used wisely.
Yeah, and that's what I say to my kids. It's like, you know, you can't just have junk food all the time. You know, you've got to use technology for different things. But yeah, it's such an interesting time for us to get through with our kids, I think. So I took my son to Tokyo, to the headquarters of the video world. And he met up with a guy there, a friend of his, that he had found online. And he spent the day in the headquarters of Videoland in Tokyo, which is the headquarters of the world. I've never seen him so engaged, so inspired, so talkative, so outgoing in my life. He says this was one of the most meaningful, most inspiring days. He was teary-eyed of his life. He says, I felt like I'd found my home because I want to study graphics. I want to study what inspires people. I want to make people laugh. I want to, you know, and he was, this was the center. Really amazing to watch that. I'm not a video game guy. No.
I'm a factual scientist.
Yeah.
He's an expression of my repressions.
Absolutely. And I think our children definitely are here to teach us so much more than we'll ever teach them.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one was going to be the ways to awaken your child's inner genius. I know you've got to go soon. So we'll, we sort of touched on it.
Okay. We got 20 minutes.
Perfect. So we sort of touched on this in the last podcast, which I like. So we'll just get straight into the questions. So why should parents awaken their child's inner genius?
I personally believe that when I used to teach a class called Activating Genius and Potential. And I found out that one of the common denominators in awakening geniuses is that everybody has that inside them, dormant many times. Some are already awakened at a young age, but many are dormant. Whenever we pursue challenges that inspire us, we wake up our genius. This has been proven. So if we find something that is deeply meaningful to us, that's really inspiring to us, that we want to solve, we won't stop until we come up with a solution and we'll wake up our genius. Genius innovation, creativity, original ideas emerge when we're pursuing challenges that inspire us. Finding out what the child loves most in their life and giving them challenges to solve problems in that area. This is what woke up Jacob Burnett, Terence Tao from Australia. These individuals, Terence Tao is from Adelaide. He loved mathematics as a young child. He did not do anything else. They said he's not going to function in school. His mom just let him just excel in mathematics. He's one of the brightest mathematicians in the world, honored as the brightest mathematician in the world. So at age 3, he was already doing math. By the time he was 11, he was winning contests in math. He's the one that creates the cyber security systems we have on computers today, that we have in all the buildings today. He wanted to study numbers. That was all he wanted to do, just study numbers. Jacob Burnett was the same way. So finding out what they absolutely love doing, letting them solve problems in that arena, wakes up genius and makes them feel that they contribute. You know, when you write an article or you do an interview or and somebody says, wow, that really changed my family's life and my kid's life, and now you solved my problems. You have a tear of gratitude at the end of the night for knowing you made a difference. And that's the most meaningful thing we do. And that gets us up with enthusiasm to want to go do more of that. So that's why I tell people to fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, and go and pursue challenges that inspire you. Because if you don't pursue challenges that inspire you, your life's going to fill up with challenges that don't. If you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, it fills up with low priority distractions that don't. One raises self-worth and confidence and genius, and one lowers it. So finding out what they're inspired to do and help them solve problems in that arena is worth doing, because their meaning comes out, their confidence comes out, they expand themselves, they wake up their leadership, they wake up their executive center in their brain and myelinate the brain instead of just that immediate gratifying amygdala down below, which keeps them almost like an animal, impulsively reactive and sugar searching and immediate gratifying searching. By waking up the executive center, you expand their space and time horizons, and they start doing things way ahead of they become precociously independent and creative. And we have that capacity, every one of us. I've seen it. I've watched it in children that I've gotten to work with. I've watched it happen. I've trained the kids and trained the parents, and the ones that do it, they see it, watch it right in front of their eyes.
So how do parents hinder their child's inner genius? Because many of us do it and we don't even realize.
We have a lower subcortical area in our brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is a pain-avoiding, pleasure-seeking, predator-avoiding, prey-seeking, instinctual, impulsive, reactive, emotional state of the brain. It's the desire center. We don't grow there. We get highly polarized, highly emotional, highly fundamental, very black and white. We have no resilience. We have to go and fill our day and brain and the executive function, the forebrain. And I've seen 6-year-olds start to develop that and write books, have 3 books out by the time they're 9, and become leaders. In Melbourne, Australia, we got a lady that became a leader, and one of the political leaders literally as a 9-year-old for kids. And by the time she was 12, she had 3 books out. So I've seen what happens when young kids start very early doing what's priority and meaningful to them and pursuing challenges. And when they do, they get out of their amygdala. The blood glucose and oxygen goes into the forebrain, the medial prefrontal cortex, and wakes up the genius center, wakes up the leader center, wakes up the mastery center, the self-governance center. Our children are easy to deal with. They're more respectful. They're less likely to want to go and overeat and sweets. They're less impulsive. They're not immediate gratifying. They think longer term. They're creative, and they want to contribute. They want to serve when they're activating that area of the brain. So they want to solve problems. So it's finding problems that they're inspired by and giving them the opportunity and challenges. Even senile dementia, people that are older, if you all of a sudden get to a certain age and you don't feel you have any need, and your kids don't need you, and you don't have any reason to cook or no reason to do anything, your brain in the executive center shut down and demyelinate and destroy themselves. it's so important to keep ourselves, our whole life, pursuing inspiring challenges, to wake up and use our brain. It's like a muscle. If we don't use it, we lose it. We want to use that executive function. And we think we shouldn't do that. You should just let them be kiddos. Yes, they need to go and find what's inspiring to them. But my son tackles challenges. He went out and found a way of going out and finding income, making income, and just so he could put a screen system together, a filming system. He created a studio in his thing. He created a whole studio. He looked all up on Google. He read about it. He watched 6 different videos. He figured out how to do it. Because when he was inspired, he solved problems and used that executive function. So giving yourself permission to make a difference by pursuing challenges that inspire you, and not stopping, giving yourself permission to persevere towards those and solve them. That's what wakes up the genius. And parents encouraging that, not discouraging that. Because parents, if they're really black and white and they're very rigid, and they're basically saying it's my way or the highway, all you're going to end up with is a defiant disorder label from some psychologist, an attention deficit because they're not inspired. Attention deficit disorder. You got people at school labeled attention deficit, stuck on Ritalin, and at home they can sit for 6 hours straight, nonstop, doing a video game or social media, or they could be watching a movie or whatever, undistracted. You put them in front of something that uninspiring to them, and they get labeled, and they get medicated. That's not the solution. The solution is finding out where their genius is and honoring it from a very young age, and keep allowing it to unfold as it changes, because it will change. That genius is sitting inherent in every child. I mean, every child. I'm amazed at children that have been labeled and all kinds of labels. I don't find those labels to be the truth. I find it finding out where that special value is in that child. And they're doing it. I had a girl that at a very young age, she wouldn't do anything except horses, nothing. She'd throw tantrums, she'd do all kinds of things. I said, instead of forcing her and creating a problem and now putting a label on them and having some psychologist blow smoke out of their rear end and with a title on it, I said, let's go and see what happens if we go and honor the thing. By the time she was 11, she was competing, horse racing, horse barreling, horse this, horse that. That was her thing. We had another 8-year-old girl that is now on her way to gold medals with freaking pole vaulting. That was her dream, to pole vault. So no, we have to find out what is spontaneously emerging in that individual child's brain, and come to realize that they already have a path that they're following, and it will evolve. So don't be stuck on the way your generation thinks it's supposed to be. Find out what it is. You know, when you meet somebody and you talk in their values and you try to help them fulfill their values, if you help other people get what they want to get in life, they help you get what you want to get in life. If you love them for who they are, they turn into who you love. It's a really amazing thing to watch. And I believe the genius is sitting in all of us. A genius is one who lets the inner voice and the inner vision of their own soul, the state of unconditional love of their life, guide their direction. And the voice and the vision on the inside is stronger than all the opinions on the outside. You won't wake up a genius. They've even shown in the Search for Greatness, a video that's on the 15 leading sports people in the world. They found out that they had their own drum they were beaten to, not the groups. They were not they weren't fitting in, they were standing out. So I could go for hours on this, as you probably guess.
Yeah, it was such an interesting topic, because I guess you do see so many people who don't feel like they've got any purpose and they're lost. And is that because they've been suppressed from their inner genius from children, or why is that?
Even Aristotle in his times, the ancient Greeks, knew that we had a series of voids and values in life. And nature bored a vacuum, is what he was saying. And we want to fulfill, the term fulfillment means filling full what we think is missing. And every child has its own unique experiences that make up the voids that determine their values. And the second we find out what our highest value is, what's most important, our primary objective, our chief aim, the thing that we feel called and inspired inwardly, intrinsically to do, the gift, as Marilyn Wilhelm calls it, finding their gift, and honor that and pursue that and take actions, They spontaneously want to do it. They don't need extrinsic motivation to do it. They're spontaneously inspired to do that. And that's where they're going to excel. That's where they're going to gain confidence. And whenever they live by highest value, their self-worth goes up. Their space and time horizons expand. Their feelings of achievement go up. Their ability to walk their talk instead of limp their life goes up. Their confident belief in themselves go up. They're congruent. They're integral. They feel confident. They're the ones that activate that mastery. And they master things at incredibly young ages. Incredibly young ages. Very young.
So how are children then inhibiting their own inner genius then? Because obviously, you know, there's so many external things, but, you know, internally, how?
Comparing. The moment you compare yourself to others and put them on a pedestal without realizing it, there's a hierarchy of values in society from those who have the most power to those who have the least power. The people at the top tend to project values down. The people at the bottom live subordinating and injecting the values of others above. And they live by duty at the bottom, and the people live by design at the top. The moment they compare themselves to another person and put somebody on a pedestal and think they're more intelligent, more successful, more, wealthy, more socially savvy, more stable in their relationships at home, more physically fit, or more spiritually aware. Anytime we subordinate, and children do this, they look at somebody else and they minimize themselves because they put somebody on a pedestal. We've done it when we're infatuated with little boyfriends and girlfriends. We do it. And then we'll sacrifice ourselves to be with them for fear of loss of them. Because when we infatuate, we fear its loss. Just like if we resent somebody, we fear its gain. And that subordination makes us inject the values of all these other people. Freud called that the superego. The superego is the injections of other people's values that you gave authority to. And they become the author of your life. And the more you do that to, the more they cloud the clarity of your own calling in life. And the more you're no longer the author of your own destiny. You're no longer a master of your destiny and captain of your fate. You're now sitting in subordination and conforming. Ernest Becker, in his Denial of Death, a Pulitzer Prize winning piece, said very clearly that the majority of people live subordinate and are looking for an external collective hero. And there'll be a spectator of a sports team to watch the hero instead of being on the field being the hero. The individual hero, the fear of being rejected by the conformed group, the herd, makes them fit in instead of stand out. It's only the individual that is pursuing the challenges that inspire them, that gain the resilience and adaptability and courage and confidence to go beyond the herd and to stand out and make the difference in the world. They're the people that are the geniuses and leaders.
So there's 3 ways that you said that you can awaken your child's inner genius. What are they?
Well, prioritizing their lives and finding out what inspires them and encourage them as parents to do that. Make him accountable and giving him challenges in that area. Say, if you love mathematics, then solve this problem. Let's solve this together. Keep them at the cutting edge of that. And whenever they perceive somebody that's above them, that they subordinate to, ask the child, where do you display whatever you see in them? Help them become aware of reflective awareness, not deflective awareness. Every time we're too humble to admit what we see in somebody above us, inside us, we disown that part. And that disowned part becomes the void that drives a value to want to fill that. But we fill it vicariously through other people instead of filling it with our own lives. So ask, whatever you see in others, where do you have it within? That's reflective awareness. Most of us are too proud or too humble to admit what we see in others inside ourselves. But the individual that can see and reflectively reflect and introspect and discover whatever they see is great in somebody else they have within them in their own value structure, they're the ones that have the confidence to stand on the shoulders of those individuals, not in their shadows, and play on the new playing field of opportunity and field of possibility with their thinking. And so I love helping any age do that, whether they're young or old. But I watched a 9-year-old who attended a program I was doing. And then there's his father. The father thought, well, she's like Dr. DeMartini, maybe we'll get all the programs. So he bought like a bunch of my CDs and DVDs and online stuff. She started listening to it. At 9, she decided what she wanted to do. She did her value determination, determined what was priority to her, decided what she wanted to do, sing and dance and perform. She started directing herself at school on those topics and prioritizing her life. She started to excel at it. By the time she was 12, she started creating videos and performing in the theater. At 13, I was speaking in Las Vegas to about 6,000 people. And her father and mother and her siblings and her were there. She came up to me and she handed me a DVD, pardon me. And it was a performance that she got almost all the kids in her school to participate in and choreographed the entire musical. That went viral. The following year, I was teaching the Breakthrough Experience in San Francisco. In the back of the room, her mother and father and her came in right before the program. And she came up and she handed me a letter. And in the letter was a $2.2 million deal with Disney.
Wow.
She was 14 years old and had her own Disney doll made in the looks of her, had her own show, and she was singing, dancing, performing, and educating kids. She was 14. That's what happens when people start and get on track with that. I have another girl who started at the same age 9. She saw me on the movie The Secret, decided her mother went online. Missy, her mother, her name is Ludovica. Her mother asked her to go on to go on my website, and they bought a bunch of products and stuff, started listening to them and stuff. She wanted to be a model and wanted to have a couture line at 9. So I'm speaking in Florida, friggin' Florida in Miami at a church, and she's there with her mother, this girl. She's 15 now. So they go up and they want to take a picture of me. And they said, you know, you inspired me since I was 9. And I go, great, I didn't know, I never met her before. Her mom said, no, you've really made a difference. And I said, wow. And so I looked her up online. She'd been on 7 major magazines and front cover of Vogue magazine at 15. She's worth $15 million and has her own couture line.
Incredible.
So I sat there and I go, well, you think I inspired you? You brought a tear to my eyes. That's what's possible if people don't put their own boxes onto other kids. Take them off the box, take them out of the box, put them in your heart, guide them by your own exemplification of living an inspired life. Don't expect to tell them things. It's what you live. It's not what you say, it's what you do. It's how you communicate, how you respect. If you respect them, they'll respect themselves. It'll help them.
Perfect note to end on today. Thank you so much for your incredible insights, Dr. Demartini. It's been a wonderful, wonderful end to our show today. Thank you so much for all of your amazing insights.
Yeah. I appreciate the opportunity because it's an important topic.
Oh, it's a really important topic, and I loved our whole conversation. You've definitely inspired me so much this morning. I really appreciate your time. I know you've got to get going. Just a quick one for you. I'd love to post you a copy of my book if you're okay with that. Do you have a postal address that I can send it to you?
I do. It's interesting. I haven't been in it since last December, but if you send it there, I will eventually get it. It's 2800 Post Oak Boulevard. So Dr. John Demartini, 2800, 2800 Post, P-O-S-T, Oak, O-A-K, Boulevard, Suite 5250. Suite 5250. Houston, Texas. Suite 5250, Houston, Texas, 77056. 77056. I've had an office at the top of this building there for 34 years. Still there. I'm rarely there. Maybe there one time a year possibly, but when I'm there, I'll see whatever's there. But if you send it there, that's the only place I've got.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, I'll send you a copy.
Thank you.
And yeah, that would be lovely. I'd love your feedback. But yeah, it's more a workbook for people to work out their vision for their life. So, and I want to do a children's
one. If you don't design it, if you don't design your life, other people do.
Exactly. And, you know, obviously I just want to help people as well. And I just think, yeah, I'd love you to have a look at it. Because I'd love to do a children's version, because I'm very passionate about children and helping them. So some of the stories that you've said, anyway, I'll email you another. Is the best way to email us through that media agency?
Yeah, I have just drdmartini.com. I mean, John at drdmartini.com is my direct email. John at drdmartini.com.
Okay, perfect.
Did you go through Justine?
My PA organised this morning, so I dare say that's who she organised it through.
I would send it to both. Send it to both, because if you send it to them or me, anytime I can help, just send it to me. Let me know.
Yeah,
I'll just send it back to them and they'll coordinate it.
Yeah,
just John at drdmartini.com, drdmartini.com.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. You do incredible work, and it was an absolute honor to be able to meet you and have you on the show today. So thanks so much, and I hope you have I can't believe how much energy you've got. You're probably doing this all day, so it's incredible.
I've been doing it all day. I've got another one here in 1 hour. I have my eating period right now, and then I've got another one at 7 for an hour and a half. This will also be in Australia. It's to 100,000 people on a live presentation.
Oh, well, good luck with that. Enjoy your meal, and thanks so much for your time. It was really, really wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.